In this podcast episode, Dan Farah opens up about his journey into the complex world of UFOs and government secrecy, revealing insights gathered over years of research and interviews with senior intelligence officials and politicians. The conversation covers the intricate web of cover-ups, the involvement of private contractors, the evolving terminology and stigma around UFOs, and the intersection of consciousness and unexplained phenomena. Dan also reflects on his experiences in Hollywood, his connection to Steven Spielberg, and how culture and media shape public perception. The discussion explores the high-stakes technology race between global powers and the unprecedented moves toward disclosure initiated by former President Trump. Dan Farah traces his lifelong fascination with UFOs and non-human intelligence back to classic 1980s films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T., which ignited a deep curiosity that remained with him into adulthood. As a seasoned Hollywood producer, with credits including producing Ready Player One, Dan felt compelled to create a credible, serious documentary based on first-hand government knowledge rather than sensationalism. During research for a scripted project, he connected with senior intelligence officials who began to reveal the stark reality behind the cover-ups and secrecy, which shifted his focus to making a documentary that could legitimize and spotlight the truth about UFOs and non-human life. Farah outlines a massive cover-up of non-human intelligent life that has persisted for roughly 80 years, involving elements deep within the U.S. government, military, and intelligence communities. He stresses that the ongoing disclosure process is not a singular event, but an unfolding revelation that will span many years. His film became entwined with official attempts to disclose this information, ultimately serving as a vehicle for various insiders, including senators and intelligence staff, to step forward within legal constraints. He explains the delicate dance politicians and officials face when attempting to bring such extraordinary truths into public view, highlighting the cautious, risk-averse political environment around disclosure. Dan discusses several pivotal figures featured in his documentary, such as Jay Stratton, former director of the UAP task force, who was instrumental in modern government investigations of UFOs and non-human phenomena. Stratton and others like Dr. Jim Latsky helped found programs such as OAP and ATIP, which evolved into the formal task forces studying UAPs. Officials from Senate Intelligence and Armed Services Committees, like Senators Rubio, Rounds, and Gillibrand, became involved and actively ensured the documentary's legitimacy by vetting interviewees and guiding access. Farah stresses that these insiders, all with impeccable credentials, risk reputations and careers to share what classified information they are allowed to reveal. The conversation reveals that from the 1940s onward, a secret legacy program has operated to keep information about recovered non-human technology and bodies away from public and even congressional oversight. Farah explains the complex power struggle between government agencies and defense contractors who handle reverse engineering of exotic technology. Private contractors hold much of the operational knowledge as government officials routinely rotate out or are not fully briefed, giving defense firms disproportionate influence. Agencies like the CIA, Air Force, and Department of Energy operate with career bureaucrats acting as gatekeepers. The classification system protecting this work is described as even more stringent than typical intelligence classifications due to its nuclear connections. Farah describes how the UAP-UFO stigma was deliberately created in the late 1940s and 1950s as a national security tool to discredit anyone investigating the phenomena by labeling them crazy or fringe. This stigma was amplified through funding Hollywood movies and controlling media narratives, causing the topic to be widely dismissed by scientists and the public for decades. Changing the term from UFO to UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, was part of an effort led by officials like Jay Stratton to foster greater seriousness and reduce ridicule, as UAP covers phenomena beyond just flying objects, including subaquatic and space events. Despite this, the stigma still haunts military eyewitnesses, often discouraging official reporting. According to Farah, intense UAP activity near nuclear weapons sites led to covert information sharing between the US and Russia in the past to avoid accidental conflict. However, this communication broke down approximately 15 years ago. The lack of ongoing cooperation raises concerns. Farah also speculates about super-secret agreements or back-channel coordinations among global powers, but has no credible confirmation. He discusses the challenges unique to the U.S. situation, where private companies have substantial control, a contrast to other nations where governments maintain tighter monopoly over sensitive technologies. The competition is framed as a technology race with China and Russia, with fears that secret denial and stigma may cause the U.S. to fall behind adversaries. The discussion branches into more unconventional territory, exploring reports of psychic phenomena such as remote viewing, a proven government program designed to gather intelligence via extrasensory perception. Farah shares stories of individuals, including children, allegedly exhibiting extraordinary mental abilities and interactions with non-human intelligences through telepathic communication. These accounts include government recruitment of people with such gifts, use of mind powers in controlling crafts, and deep connections between the UFO phenomena and human consciousness. While acknowledged as extraordinary, Farah emphasizes these claims come from credible insiders and should not be dismissed out of hand. A significant portion of the conversation covers UAP activity in oceans, with multiple witnesses reporting craft moving at impossible speeds underwater, sometimes exceeding submarine capabilities by large margins. Near-nuclear submarine incidents described include objects appearing 10 times larger than subs and disappearing suddenly. Naval intelligence reportedly collects vast classified data on these events, but remains barred from full access by the legacy program. Farah and other officials suggest the existence of underwater bases, possibly hosting non-human life or reverse-engineered technology. The oceans present a prime arena for these enigmatic encounters, partly due to stable, controllable environments compared to volatile atmospheres. Farah stresses that revelations about extraterrestrial life and reverse-engineered technology could trigger transformative changes, but also pose existential risks. The secrecy is partly justified by fears of widespread societal disruption, national security threats, and advanced weapons proliferation. The technology behind these crafts involves manipulating space-time bubbles, which could theoretically revolutionize energy production, but also enable instant, devastating weaponry accessible to rogue actors beyond traditional nation-states. This tension fuels the gatekeeping by officials who believe controlled disclosure is necessary, while adversaries remain engaged in a high-stakes secret competition. The episode offers insights into how presidents and senior government leaders have interacted with the truth. Farah details interviews where former officials like James Clapper acknowledge the reality of UAPs over areas like Area 51 and confirm active investigations despite public denials. Reagan's United Nations speeches and possible private statements about extraterrestrial life underline how some presidents contemplated disclosure but were stymied by political and security concerns. Former President Donald Trump's recent directive to declassify and share UFO evidence represents a notable shift in executive actions, although resistance from entrenched bureaucracies endures. Several interviewees share first-hand accounts of encounters with non-human beings and UAP phenomena at or near military installations and even at their homes. Such experiences often involve disabling or manipulating witness perceptions, followed by post-event interrogations by agencies like the Air Force Office of Special Investigations and the CIA. Farah deliberately left some of the most extreme personal testimonies out of his film, considering them bridges too far for mainstream audiences, but he confirms their existence as part of the broader mosaic of evidence. The overarching theme is that non-human intelligence has been closely watching and sometimes intervening in humans engaged in this secret field. Dan Farah recounts his inspiring experience working with Steven Spielberg on Ready Player One, describing Spielberg as a monumental influence, both as a filmmaker and as a creative figure who first inspired him to pursue this field. Spielberg's connection to the UFO phenomenon is notable, given his iconic films and the story of him screening E.T. for President Reagan, who allegedly told the audience that some present knew the movie's portrayal was absolutely true. Farah believes that cultural products, especially movies by filmmakers like Spielberg, play a vital role in shaping public perceptions and can help normalize topics like UFOs, ultimately advancing disclosure efforts. Spielberg's upcoming film Disclosure Day is also anticipated to contribute to this cultural shift. In closing, Farah reflects on how his documentary, combined with forthcoming Hollywood treatments, aims to break down the last barriers of stigma and move the conversation forward. He stresses the need for a Kennedy-like moment that officially repositions the UFO situation as a legitimate national priority and global challenge. The interplay of science, military secrecy, geopolitical rivalries, and human consciousness points toward a complex but pivotal age of disclosure. Farah is actively exploring follow-up projects to delve deeper into various subtopics and individual events as the truth continues to surface, believing that public awareness and understanding are key to meaningful progress.